Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the panel on legacy systems in the era of artificial intelligence. So it's a particularly timely conversation. Obviously, over the last few days, we've discussed the modernisation of our parliaments in terms of our long-standing systems, our processes, many of which are deeply embedded within our cultural institutions. While also trying to manage the rapid evolution of these emerging technologies. Legacy systems in some ways reflect the history and culture of our institutions. They support critical functions. They are, I suppose, embody our procedural processes, and they're trusted because they have been around for many years. But at the same time, they do present real challenges. And we're fortunate to be joined here by a very strong panel. We have Kirsten from the US House of Representatives. We have Vaapi from the Parliament of Namibia. We have Bruno from Govsys, and we have Paddy from the Northern Ireland Assembly. And I'd like to start by asking an opening question to each of the speakers. How is your Parliament overcoming or assisting Parliaments to overcome their legacy systems, constraints, and how is AI shaping future strategy for delivery? I'll ask Kirsten first.
Great, thank you. Thank you again on this third day for this great discussion. Again, my name is Kirsten Gullickson. I sit in our Legislative Computer Systems Division in the Office of the Clerk, which is very similar to Secretary General offices. And our office is charged with maintaining the computer systems that help the formal legislative process. So we have an ecosystem that takes everything from the idea of the legislative draft all the way to the committee reports, to our congressional record, to that final House passed and then final Senate and House passed bill. And I'm going to come to you today from the perspective of a practitioner. So I lead our team of business analysts and our testers. So we sit on either side of the developers and we tell them these are the business rules. So we have to train the developers on legislative process and we have to test. So we're telling them what's going to bring value to our users and did you do it? And we try to make sure that our developers and our practitioners are as much as subject matter experts in the legislative process as we are. So when we talk about AI, I often frame it in the question of where does it bring value? Where is it going to help our users? And so all of the principles, all of the guardrails and the guidelines that we've talked up until today, they definitely are part of our questions and where can we use it? And of course, then that's all wrapped around what's our project management strategy, what's our product management strategy, and where do we get that funding from? And every solution and every place has a little different challenge systemically. Just I think we all have those kind of places. How do we find the opportunities to get what we need done? In the United States House of Representatives, that system, that ecosystem of technology that we use to draft our bills, get it published so it's on the public website, how we get legislative actions and what happened on those bills in that debate process over to our public websites that are used by our members, our staff, and the public can be brittle because of the legacy systems. So we've modernized over here and we have some new tech stack here, but we still have this legacy application here and maybe some interoperability APIs, /files, text files, however we can get the data in. In some places it's really extremely brittle, and so we have to be very careful in our strategy about where are we putting that new tech and where we would put AI so that we don't expand the brittleness of our systems or move pressure from one business unit to the other business unit. So my sample or example of this is it takes our government publishing office a fair amount of time to proofread our introduced bills. And they do a level of quality assurance. They check for typos. They check to make sure the legislative structure is okay. Not so much because Wade, he's our former legislative counsel, not because Wade and the drafters did their job wrong, it's because members can take any draft that they get, or they can draft something themselves and put it into the system. So we have that quality assurance there. Anyways, the government publishing office takes a little bit of time to do that proofreading, and our members did not like it. Like, why is it taking 3 days for my bill to get up on congress.gov, which is our public access website? And so what we did was in the e-hopper, in one of the breakout sessions, I demoed our new piece of technology for a submission. And we gave them a little checkbox that they could say, well, I waive proofreading. I'm just not going to have it proofread. And this is, if you think about it, there's lots of places in the legislative process where members don't have a lot of autonomy. But in their sponsored legislation and where they have their name on it, just them, they can choose to waive proofreading if they want. So they waive proofreading because we're drafting in XML, not yet in a Comunitoso. We have a Generation 1 process, and then we move it into a Comunitoso later on. But because we're drafting in that XML, it's a pretty seamless workflow. Our government publishing office doesn't need to open up that document to proofread it, and they can just publish it. And so we've reduced our average time from 3 days down to a few hours. Our members are happy. If they have a typo, their constituents can say, you have a typo in your bill. And then, of course, our legislative process is designed to refine and perfect the legislation. So, they can do that in committee, right, and fix the typo if they have the will to do it. Anyways, we look in that brittle system, where can we put the AI and where does it add value? The second place that we're really using AI is our developers are using some of the tools in the AI to read our legacy code. So instead of reverse engineering, and we heard Grant this morning talk about how much time it takes to analyze just the structure of our legislative documents and get them prepared to put in structured language, our developers are using the AI tools to understand legacy code and at least start giving to us, the business analysts, some of those baked in rules and procedures and policies that might be baked in the code. And we don't have the documentation anymore because the system is 20 years old or 15 years old, and we all have places in our legislative process that may or may not happen very often. And so we might even go to our clerks and our staff, or me, who should know things. And when was the last time this happened? I think it happened 5 years ago, but it really happened 15 years ago. And so in preparation, I looked at how many times since I've started in Congress, and I've been in the U.S. House for 30 years, we've only expelled a member twice, right? So members can fill out their term, they can resign, they can unfortunately pass away, or we can expel, the members can vote to expel them. It's happened twice, but our systems still need to be able to record that activity can happen. Maybe you have a staff that never experienced something rarely used or rarely exercised by your members, but our systems still need to do it. And so uncovering what else do we need to keep as we modernize our legacy systems and use AI is really important. And that is probably where we spend most of our time. Anyways, I think my time's up. That's our lessons learned. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Kirsten. Yeah, really interesting in terms of that approach and that kind of, I suppose, focusing on bringing value but recognizing the brittleness of what we're working with. Vaapi, I'm going to turn to you now in terms of answering that opening question. Thank you.
My name is Vaapi Kaenda from the Parliament of Namibia, and I'm a system administrator in the IT department, and my responsibility has been digitalizing the chamber. It's one of the responsibilities that I carry. So in terms of how our parliament is overcoming the constraints, in terms of legacy systems or using AI. It's not so much Parliament or Namibia being a young, brand new economy. It's we have not really adopted AI or to its fullest capacity, or we have not even within Parliament, we have not even regulated AI. Or the members, of course, on their own personal capacity, they are using AI. But in terms of what we have from the IT department, what we have done is, for example, in terms of bill tracking, which is one of the legacy systems, previously this was done manually in terms of to track what is happening in terms of where is the bill, what stage is it at. We have created a bill tracking system currently that we, as soon as a bill is tabled in the House, it's then put into the system, and members and even the public, because one of our key engagement within Parliament has been citizens' engagement in terms of drafting legislatures. So that system has allowed citizens to sort of take part into what is happening inside the House. So I think in terms of what are we doing, we have utilized technologies in assisting citizens to participate as compared to 5 years ago, which was completely different than it is right now. Of course, our system our chamber is paperless to a certain extent, of course. I think like any other parliament. So in terms of what can we do, or what is our what are we planning to do is try and get the policies or the policies that we have to drive the regulate what members, because obviously whatever tool or AI tool that they're going to use, we don't want them to pose a risk to the network, and we want to regulate that, and I think that's where we will be going from.
Thank you very much, Vaapi. It's interesting, I suppose, that combination of managing the regulation, the governance, the control to minimise the risks, while also trying to, open up for that participation kind of to the public. Thank you. Bruno, the same question to yourself, please.
Okay, I speak in Portuguese, and if you have some phones, there is a moment. Antes de falar, né, da solução, eu quero começar a gente identificar o problema. Eu gosto de fazer esse passo anterior. Né? O que é um software legado por conceito? Né? A gente teria um software antigo, poderíamos dizer, um código antigo, uma versão de software defasado, mas eu acredito que isso é um conceito que todo mundo já tem, mas vamos pensar um pouco mais. É só a tecnologia que está legada, ou talvez o processo esteja legado? A instituição esteja legada também, no conceito de defasado. Muitas vezes o problema não é o software, ele é um reflexo, às vezes, do que já está instituído na instituição. É muito difícil tu implantar um software que transforma totalmente a instituição se ela não se transformar antes. Então, a gente tem que detectar qual passo a gente quer dar primeiro. Eu acho que a gente começa por aí. Tá? Então, quando a gente fala de modernização, transformação, eu não estou falando até de uma posição teórica. A gente faz migrações, dezenas de migrações todo ano, de câmaras que saem de processos ou de papel, ou de softwares defasados, softwares que têm limitações, ali, que são apenas uma pilha de anexos, digamos assim, para um software que tem um processo, de fato, digital, do início ao fim, com IA embarcada, etc. Então, a gente já faz isso já há mais de 18 anos, a gente já vem fazendo esse tipo de situação. Então, recentemente, falando de software legado, a gente está passando também por um momento de migração de software legado na nossa própria empresa. Nós estamos refatorando, que é a palavra que se define de refazer, né, o código, nas novas versões de tecnologias também com IA. Então, nós estamos sentindo na pele um pouco do que é uma transformação também na nossa própria solução. Mas nós temos percebido que o ganho é muito maior do que o custo de oportunidade que poderia se perder de não fazer essa ação. A velocidade que a gente ganha no momento que a gente dá esse primeiro passo, os próximos passos são muito mais rápidos do que esses primeiros. Então, vale muito a pena, para quem tem equipe técnica interna, repensar. Será que não é a hora, talvez, da gente repensar a nossa tecnologia que nós estamos utilizando para que ela possa se beneficiar da inteligência artificial na parte de desenvolvimento de software? Aqui eu estou falando de desenvolvimento, nem estou falando do software em si como o fim, né, o fim da instituição, mas sim como o meio. Tá? A gente vai passar também pela essa questão do software como meio para chegar à finalidade da instituição. Né? O outro custo que tem de modernizar, tu vai ter o custo ali financeiro, talvez contratar uma consultoria, uma empresa de desenvolvimento, tudo bem. Mas e qual é o custo de tomar decisões sem conseguir acessar todo o conhecimento que a instituição já tem? Como que a gente pode medir, né, esse tipo de ausência de algo? Né? Esse é meu ponto principal. A gente consegue muito estimar o custo que nós vamos ter por fazer algo, mas e qual o custo por não fazer a decisão? Esse custo, muitas vezes, é difícil de precisar. Eu acho que esse custo tem que começar a estar dentro das propostas que vocês vão viabilizar dentro do seu orçamento, né? O custo de não fazer. Né? O software legado, então, né, se não se redesenhar os fluxos internos na casa, a gente perde muito. Existem padrões estabelecidos, como o BPMN, por exemplo, que está estabelecido desde 2005, 2004, se eu não me recordo, e foi publicada a última ISO dele em 2013. Estamos falando de 13 anos já que não há alterações significativas ao modelo. Está sendo discutido, sim, uma versão 3.0, onde já vai prever questões agênticas de IA, mas estamos, então, portanto, criando processos dentro de um padrão de 13 anos atrás. O software já evoluiu muito em 13 anos. É totalmente diferente. As linguagens que eram 13 anos atrás, os padrões de desenvolvimento de software já evoluíram, mas os modelos de processos ainda continuam muito parecidos. Aí entra aquela questão que já foi falada aqui, da IA in the loop, que é como hoje está sendo implementada a IA na maior parte dos parlamentos. Eles incluem a inteligência artificial em alguns momentos, em algumas pequenas interações. A minha provocação é a gente tentar fazer o fluxo inverso. É a gente tentar entender como a IA pode nos ajudar. Mas aí eu não vou dizer que ela é a solução geral para tudo. Mas eu quero colocar um ponto aqui que talvez não está sendo visto. É a evolução que a IA generativa está tendo nesse presente momento no software. Eu vi que recentemente está agora subindo muito rápido uma nova tecnologia que já tem uma versão de 2024, mas agora ela se consolidou, era a versão 0 ponto alguma coisa, nem estava muito estável, agora ela se consolidou como um novo padrão, que vão ser as interfaces generativas. Então, os modelos de agentes, né, ou chats, etc., vão começar a produzir suas próprias interfaces para poder interagir com o usuário. Então, isso me leva a uma outra provocação. Se o agente ele vai ter, digamos, formulários, né, de preenchimento de dados, de obtenção de informações, que é a forma que a gente pode imputar os dados num sistema, e a gente tem aquela questão que a gente falou ontem, do MCP, que é uma forma de conectar com APIs, com um sistema legado, então significa que assim como eu posso buscar informações no sistema legado, eu vou poder imputar também informações no sistema legado por interfaces de inteligência artificial. Isso vai ser viável e de uma forma segura, não vai mais ser um chat onde eu vou fazer uma extração de metadados e tentar botar isso num sistema. Poderia ser feito assim, mas eu posso fazer também com formulários sem sair do ambiente da IA. Então isso se torna uma transformação do modelo de software. O software não mais ele vai ser uma interface visual, ele vai ser uma interface de estrutura de dados, uma estrutura de processos e uma estrutura que vai perceber toda a instituição como um todo e se conectar a essas novas ferramentas para que possa auxiliar o processo da instituição como um todo. Essa seria a minha primeira colocação. Obrigado.
Thank you very much, Bruno. Yeah, some interesting thoughts there. I suppose that lost opportunity cost is something we probably don't evaluate enough. And then, yeah, that transformation model you've talked through is really interesting. So we'll come back to that in the next round.
Yep.
And now I'd invite Paddy to come in on that first question.
Okay, thank you, Mairéad. And I'll start by introducing myself. My name's Paddy McAllister. I've been with the Northern Assembly for about 17 years now, so I'm currently the deputy head, but my trade is a software engineer at heart. I'll start giving you a little bit of context about Northern Ireland and our legacy systems. The Northern Ireland Assembly is relatively young, devolved legislature, established following the Good Friday Agreement in 1998. We're a bit unique in that we're only one of a few mandatory coalitions. In many ways, starting off a new parliament, we have to understand and the systems we required. So at that point, there was a rapid growth of needing applications at that time. So what we done was we went around a lot of legislators to find out best practice of systems and bring that back. And the one model that we went with was a Canadian model, which was to have a centralised database for all procedural systems. However, we've had some difficulties, I'm sure some people in the room will know, with stability, and we've had prolonged periods where we didn't function. And to give you a little bit of context, we've been going for 25 years or just over, and 9 of those years we haven't been sitting. So that has its own challenges in itself. We are currently the world record, I think, for having no parliament consecutive days. It was previously held by Belgium for 541 days without a parliament, and we smashed that and went for 1,091 days. Nothing to be proud of, by the way. It does have challenges, but the one thing that it did give us, it gave us something quite valuable, was time and resource to concentrate on developing good data structures and good foundations for our systems. So we invested heavily in bespoke development for our applications at that time, and over the last decade, a couple of decades. The system that we call it's a single platform. It's called the Assembly Information Management System, AIMS for short. Okay. At its core, it's a centralised database, and it holds complete data records back to 1998 of everything that we do. So we've got members' details, voting records, committees, questions, legislation, official report. The only thing we don't do inside the system is drafting of the bills. So it's natively integrated, which is the benefit for us, okay? And the real ethos behind it is create the data once and use multiple times throughout the assembly processes. So rather than having fragmented systems, it's a single source of truth, highly structured relational data that gives real-time consistency in our parliamentary outputs. So in many ways, legacy is our strength, particularly with the quality and integration of data, but the constraints are where our applications are. So we're looking at applications that are between 15 to 20 years old. Our network was old, okay, established on an on-premise only network. So when we were developing the applications, there was no cloud then, there was no AI. So the challenge really for us is how do we retain the core, which is our strength, while modernising what we do? Okay, so our approach is to modernise around the core. We're not taking a rip and replace approach. Instead of the head of branches with me today, some of the stuff she probably would prefer to rip out and replace, but instead we're getting our foundations right. We started off with having a good strategy, modernising our infrastructure. That was a lot of work, a lot of pain of going to the cloud and moving an on-premise network built over the last 25 years to somewhere else. And then governance. We wanted to be a governance-led organisation with AI in mind. So first of all, we're moving our cloud-first approach with our Azure infrastructure and our applications. We've introduced API and integration layers around that AIMS core, and then incrementally redeveloping the applications over a pretty aggressive timeline as well. So thinking about what we're doing with legacy and how AI will shape our future strategies, artificial intelligence is our next step in our evolution. It's being introduced in a controlled, governance-led way. This is guided by our digital AI and cybersecurity strategy, which sets out our digital cloud-first approach to delivering modern, secure, user-centric systems. Importantly, the strategy is clear that AI is about supporting the research, our knowledge management, and our efficiency while preserving the human decision making and institutional control. Alongside that, we have implemented a formal AI policy, ensuring that AI use is lawful, ethical, transparent, and accountable, with strong principles over human oversight and fairness and data protection. So what this actually means in practice is we're going to start off small and scale responsibly. We're focusing on pilot use cases and building confidence in what we're doing. We want to embed AI into our existing workflows. Some of the policies we've got and approvals are to use Copilot in our day-to-day work, from Teams or Office stuff. But then when we want to do advanced stuff, the approved tools that we want to use is Copilot Studio, Azure AI Foundry. So we can do that advanced stuff. And I talk about being embedded. We don't want to be copying data from one application to another just to use AI. We want to be part of that. But we want to maintain strong governance. Through the approval process, we've got an AI governance group that oversees AI adoption. So linking it back to our legacy systems, because we have that high quality structured data with the names, now we have a strong foundation with governance and a clear modernization pathway. We're in a strong position to apply AI in real life use cases, like summarizing, drafting, and insights on that data while maintaining trust and transparency and control. So for us, AI isn't something about layering on top without control. It's part of our approach as a deliberate policy governance-led evolution of digital platform and building with strong legacy foundations to support modern parliaments. So that's what our approach is to our strategies. Thanks, Mairéad.
Thanks very much, Paddy. Yeah, it's interesting. I suppose the challenge is somewhat unique in terms of the time gap, but it sounds like you've put a lot of thought in that time to really be able to kind of take that now incremental but aggressive approach. I like that phrase. Okay, thank you very much for that. I'll now turn to Kirsten. Just in terms of a follow-up question, I suppose we recognise the scale at which the US House of Representatives is working and the progress that's been made over the last number of years. Where do you see the US House of Representatives on the spectrum between, I suppose, modernising legacy systems and embedding AI into workflows, and what's been the most effective step in terms of that progression?
Thank you for the question. Bruno said some great things, and Paddy said some great things. I want to respond to all of those as well. I think the question that you present really depends on where we're examining the tasks and the functions that the staff need to make in the House. So we have a number of folks who are experimenting with AI in the member offices, but then institutionally, from the clerk's perspective, we're being very slow in making sure that we're not disrupting the business operations or the core functions that we're responsible for. But I do want to talk about one place where we were able to use the opportunity of having that structured data. So not all of our data is structured yet, but at least our bill data and our laws are structured in that rich XML schema that Monica and Grant and others have talked about. And when we were ready to build tools to do comparative analysis and comparative prints of our laws and our bills and the impact of the proposal on the current law, we had the data structured and we were ready to respond when the members were ready to ask for that. And we had been putting the members off for a little while and saying, no, we're not ready, no, we're not ready. And then a member asked, and we took opportunity to do that. And we have a system that now is being used not only in the House, but our Library of Congress and in the Senate. It's called our Comparative Print Suite. and it is using natural language processing, and it is one of the first AI use cases in the House. And again, we were there because we did that standards work, and we still are doing the standards work. Our congressional record is not in that structured data yet, and there's a lot of information that I think we can richly get out of the congressional record if we would get to the next step. But we have a strategic plan to take care of that. So it's really important when we think about digital representation of our documents and our information, and where's that strategic progression so we can get to AI use. So in some places, you got the PDF, you put the PDF. If you can make it searchable, you make it searchable. If you can put it in XML schema, put it in XML schema, and your strategic plans just have to align with that. And we, again, have seen the advantages of doing that. It's difficult, it's hard. The other, I'd like to respond to what Bruno said, because I think you are really smart in what's legacy. Is it the process or is it the tech? And we ask both those questions. Do we have to replace the workflow and the process? And what capabilities are we building? We do have some projects that the technology drives the replacement because we don't have staff who know how to take care of that piece of tech, and we're okay. Let's get in there and redo it. But so there's a lot of different approaches. I think they all work because if you're like our legislature in large, we have so many different places that we have to take care of.
Thanks very much, Kirsten. I think in some ways we'd like to stay here and have this chat for a lot longer.
Yes.
But we'll come back to it after at lunch. Vaapi, I suppose in terms of the next question for yourself, we've talked about, I suppose, some of the significant progress made by Namibia in terms of moving to that digital first chamber, achieving near paperless operations. Building on that foundation, what's been the most important lesson in moving away from those legacy processes, and what do you see as the next step in your roadmap toward that AI-enabled parliamentary services?
I think one of the biggest lessons is that we have come when we're doing this whole process has been, change management has been one of the biggest challenge, because when you introduce a new technology, whether it's a system, whether it's an AI technology, there has always been resistance in terms of I'm not sure how good are you with Namibia in terms of the knowledge, but most of our members of parliament has been the older generation. And I think when we introduced the paperless system, we had, I think, 80% of our members of parliament was, I think, beyond 50 something. And I think in their time when they were growing up, technology was, so there was a bit of resistance there. But what we have learned that in future, if you want to bring in technology, I think one of the first things that we need to concentrate on is change management and training our staff and MPs to sort of get to know that this is not here to replace them, but it's here to assist in what they want to do. And I think to come to the other part of the question is, I think in our next steps, we would want to contact a digital maturity assessment in terms of evaluating the current systems, workflows, and digital capabilities, especially in terms of the infrastructure. Are we able to handle what? Because you don't want to sort of overdream. Then the other thing would be develop a clear AI and modernization roadmap, especially if we want to sort of move towards using AI within the parliament. So we would want to define the short term, what can we do right now, and then the medium, and what can be done, and then the long term. Eventually, what do we want to see in the future? And then one of the things we would preferably wish to do, it's pilot AI use cases. Start with manageable, because I'm not sure, because one of the disadvantage that we have as the Namibian Parliament in terms of the in terms of the human resources, we are quite we've got a very few structure in terms of IT staff. I was quite shocked that you are about 40 something. We are about 5 staff members within the IT department supporting about 148 members of parliament. We are a bicameral parliament, so we have 2 houses, the National Assembly and the National Council. And each house has its own staff, and we have a common IT department that supports this. So our dream, or what I would love to, or one of the takeaway from this work of this conference has been that we can actually utilize AI to sort of do some of the work, especially at the back end, rather than putting AI in front. Because, of course, within the IT, we can easily adopt to AI processes. Maybe they can code for us instead of employing programmers, because the process to get these structures in place would take longer than us having to use. And then I think, like I've said, it's invest in staff training and change management, and then also ensure data governance and ethics, establish clear policies and frameworks, make sure that we are within, and also security and responsible use of AI. I think that is one of the things that we can't really go without mentioning. And also foster collaboration and knowledge sharing. Engage other parliaments and government agencies, and because you cannot do everything all on our own. And I think that would be one of the things that we would be looking forward to in doing. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Vaapi. And yeah, I suppose it is like there's a huge challenge there in terms of the scale that you have to support with the team that you have. I think echoing the roadmap, the strategy. I think that's a key piece for all of us in terms of the future steps. Bruno, now I suppose in terms of a follow-up question, through Govsys, you've implemented AI tools directly into legislative workflows, including drafting, summarisation. From that experience, what's the single biggest, I suppose, limitation that legacy systems create, and how are modern AI solutions then overcoming that?
Well, bem, vou falar em português. Para mim, se eu fosse escolher uma principal limitação que esses sistemas possuem, não apenas que eles criam, mas que eles possuem, eu diria, é eles não terem APIs de dados abertos, que seria Open Data APIs. Tá? Para mim, esse é a única principal problema, porque se tu tiver isso, todo o resto se resolve. Tá? Eu diria assim, se tem que escolher o que eu vou desenvolver dentro do meu sistema legado, invista em APIs, tá? Bem documentadas, com padrões atualizados, JSON, RESTful, etc. Entendeu? Tipo, faça uma estrutura de dados comunicável para computadores, porque com isso as IAs vão conseguir se comunicar com o seu software. O primeiro passo seria essa limitação que boa parte dos softwares legados não tem APIs. Tá? Então, investir nisso é o primeiro passo para qualquer coisa, porque dali tu consegue extrair os dados, inclusive se tu quiser ir para um novo sistema, tu consegue fazer uma migração parcial, tu consegue fazer muita coisa tendo APIs. Então, essa para mim é a maior limitação atual técnica de sistemas legados. Tá? E aí, se não for para a parte técnica, mas uma parte agora, como a pergunta até falava, que eles criam, eles tratarem os documentos como dados. Né, sem contexto, né, tratar os dados, né, todos os dados da instituição são anexos, são documentos PDFs, são arquivos de PDF. Para mim esse é o principal problema que ele gera, conceitualmente falando, porque ele cria essa versão, inclusive, na mente da equipe, de que o processo é um documento, e não é. Entendeu? A gente tem visto muitos sistemas que simplesmente replicam o mesmo paradigma do papel no sistema. A gente trabalha de uma outra forma. A gente, por exemplo, né, vou dar um exemplo no nosso sistema de fluxo legislativo. Quando é criado uma proposição, a gente não trabalha na questão de levar de um setor para o outro. Não tem aquela questão que no Brasil se chama de despacho. É um ofício encaminhando para um outro setor. Essa parte, isso faz sentido quando tu tem um papel. Tu tem que ter um documento que tu entregou, aí tu pega um visto, aí tu pega de volta o comprovante que tu levou aquela pasta para aquele setor. Vamos pensar dessa forma, indo bem para o papel tradicional muito antigamente. Os sistemas, boa parte deles reproduzem essa mesma lógica. O que não faz sentido, porque o documento nunca saiu do sistema. Ele não foi encaminhado para nenhum lugar. Apenas como a gente faz, tu deu o quê? Eu solicitei uma pendência, eu tornei agora uma solicitação de algo, por exemplo, eu solicitei um parecer jurídico. Na verdade, eu não encaminhei o projeto ao jurídico. O projeto está no sistema, no mesmo lugar. Ele não se moveu. Então, o projeto não foi encaminhado. O que houve foi uma solicitação de um parecer jurídico que vai criar uma pendência, um prazo a ser resolvido. No momento que essa pendência ou esse prazo é resolvido, isso pode criar uma nova pendência, uma nova situação, mas não necessariamente ele entrou ou saiu de uma repartição. Vocês entendem o conceito, como muda a visão entre pensar no físico e no digital? Há uma grande diferença conceitual e isso depois se reflete na prática do dia a dia, porque isso torna todo o processo muito mais burocrático quando se enxerga dessa forma. Mas voltando, né, então, com a inteligência artificial, eu acredito que o primeiro passo é entender essa mudança de paradigma, tá? Porque isso eu acho que em todos os parlamentos, eu posso dizer todos generalizando, eu não gosto de generalizações, mas eu acredito que em quase todos os parlamentos se reflete muito ainda a questão do papel no processo, né? Então, quando a gente começa a mudar isso, todo o resto se torna possível. Eu gosto de falar de tecnologias habilitadoras, enablers, né? São tecnologias que habilitam próximos passos. Esse é o tipo de coisa que eu acredito que habilita um próximo passo, né? Se não houver isso, fica muito mais difícil de todo o resto acontecer.
Thank you very much, Bruno. Yeah, it is interesting, I suppose, that mindset probably that we all have within parliaments that we don't necessarily think about outside of that. And I suppose, yeah, certainly the API and that data flow through legacy systems is quite challenging, all right? Yeah. Paddy, now just in terms of the follow-up question for yourself, I suppose we've talked a little bit around the Office of AI and Digital in Northern Ireland and your governance-led approach to AI. What are your key priorities in terms of translating that strategic ambition into real change in your legacy parliamentary systems, and what would success look like over the next few years?
Right, thanks, Mairéad. And probably danger of repeating some of my first answer there, but for us, it's always about getting the foundations right, and I suppose it's probably a part of our makeup of instability. We always like to have good foundations going forward, but again, just to repeat, this. Ensuring our strategies are right, building that infrastructure before we do stuff, get it right, and then the governance and the AI group is a good starting point for us. The real focus really is on translating those strategic ambitions into practical, sustainable change in our legacy systems. Our digital AI and cyber strategy gives us a clear direction. A digital cloud-first approach using AI to deliver modern, secure, user-centric services. Our priorities are really, we've got three main priorities in that, and modernising legacy systems in a controlled, incremental way without disruption. The strategy commits us to modernising the outdated systems and also digitising those manual processes, but we need to do it in a careful way. Again, introducing those APIs and integration layers to our existing AIMS data structures, moving towards cloud-based, scalable, secure architecture, and incrementally redeveloping those application layers on our logic layers rather than replacing the core. Really, it allows us to preserve high integrated parliamentary data, maintain continuity of critical services, and also create that foundation for AI ready. The second real priority for us is embedding AI into real business processes. It's not just taking AI as a theory or doing it at the edges of stuff. We want to embed it in how the organisation works, and so that the strategy gives us that drive and making sure it's about research capability, knowledge management, and operation efficiency. So our focus is embedding AI into the existing parliamentary workflows and systems, particularly those built around aims. Again, we've chosen platforms like Office 365, Copilot for your day-to-day activities, Copilot Studio and Azure Foundry for those advanced features in our processes. Because the real value really comes with when AI is close to the data. And if that trusted data is there and inside your workflows without having to go and move it around different apps, it becomes a real benefit. We don't want to have separate tools and having to step outside, do normal work activities. The next real priority for us is really building capability, trust and governance. Our strategies place a strong emphasis on digital enablement and skills development, building a culture of continuous learning and adoption. Alongside that, our governance and models ensures AI is introduced safely, transparently. Risks are understood and managed, and users have the confidence on how AI is being applied. Because in a parliamentary context, trust is the most important quality, you know. So what does success look for us going forward, okay? In the next few years, it's not about how much AI we deliver, but it'll be based on what measurable outcomes aligned to our strategies is the real success. And just to mention a few of those, modern, advanced, and I think someone said this earlier, intelligent systems. That's what we're aiming for. That's our success. We want to see clear them integrated APIs we've talked about already, supporting cloud and AI capabilities, while we maintain security, resilience, and data integrity in these systems. Tangible improvements in productivity. We see a clear benefits such as reducing manual processes, faster access to information, and better support to our members and their staff. So it's about delivering that strategy on efficiency and user-centric services. Third one would be really digital capability. Success means staff are confident using digital and AI tools. A strong baseline of digital competency is in place, and a culture of continuous improvement and innovation is established then. So this is what we're trying to push towards. That's our success. Is our users more digitally aware? Can they use the tools? And we're not there yet, but we're aiming towards it and put it in place. And trust and assurance maintained. Critical to parliamentary context, AI has to be used transparently and responsibly. Governance is embedded in what we do, and of course, it's public trust in our systems are maintained, and that's the most important driver. So just to close off, ultimately our priority is not just about modernising legacy systems, it's about transforming them into secure, intelligent platforms that supports how a modern legislator operates, delivering innovation with trust, control, and purpose. Okay, thank you, Mairéad.
Thanks very much, Paddy. And yeah, I like that focus and the prioritization of trust, because it's essential in terms of our engagement, obviously with our staff, with our members, but with the public ultimately. So yeah, that's really important. Okay, thank you very much, everyone. And we're just going to move to maybe a final few comments from each of the panel members. So Kirsten, if you want to kick off.
Yes, thank you. And I'll put my timer on so I can not take so much time. My question, though, while I put my timer on, to Paddy, have you moved to CI/CD? Do you have code freeze?
In parts, yes.
Okay.
Not completely there yet, but we are getting there. Yes.
That was one of our Scrum teams, our main Scrum team, who's modernizing a very legacy system that's very similar to what you described. We finally got to that continuous development with no code freeze, and it was a very celebrated day, and our testers can just verify the release, and our developers are happy to keep working on it, and we can deliver some products faster and maintain that trust that we're talking about, which is so important. I'd just like to close with that continuation, that incremental approach, regardless of where you're on your modernization effort, is really important, because your stakeholders above you, your users, your teams, you can see the value that you're bringing when it's very incremental. So we have adopted all of the agile platforms in our development, and it, having done waterfall previously, and now seeing that incremental development and that incremental delivery of something that is good, not only for our in-house team, where we might change our in-house processes like I was just describing, but our users and our customers and our members are seeing what we can deliver, has opened up more doors of opportunity for us to move faster in our modernization. Also, human-centered design principles have been used a lot in our software development projects. And then building those relationships. We have a lot of institutional boundaries, not only within the House, but within the Senate, within our legislative branch. So make sure that having forums where you can bring all the different teams of people together to talk about these challenges, very similar to what we've done today, but internally, has been really valuable to us. And we have a congressional data task force that talks about our data. We have other bicameral meetings where we can just share information at a level of the level that we're doing it, not up or down. And it's been really, really valuable. And we've been able to maintain the integrity of our legislative information and be able to maintain the business continuity, right? We all have to keep everything operational 24/7. And so meeting those challenges have really been built on relationships.
Thanks very much, Kirsten. Vaapi, if you'd like to do some closing remarks.
So, in terms of what we have, learned here, I think it has been, eye-opening in terms of what can be done, especially with the limited resources that we have. And I think learning from what Paddy has said and Kirsten has said, and my Bruno here, we can literally go back home and sort of restructure our strategies and see what we can actually bring home. And of course, in different circumstances as compared to what my colleagues here have. But I think it has been quite educating to sit up here. So thank you.
Thanks very much, Vaapi. Bruno, would you like to give some closing remarks?
Mas ok. Vamos para a conclusão, né? Então, eu queria, antes de mais nada, só comentar, eu estava ouvindo, né, o que o Paddy falou. Eu fui muito bem recebido lá na Irlanda do Norte, né? Nós tivemos umas conversas sobre o que eles estavam fazendo no almoço, e eu achei fantástico, né, o engajamento da equipe que eles têm, o time multidisciplinar, né, focado no processo e na tecnologia, né? E o que eu posso dizer, para quem tem equipe de desenvolvimento, invista muito em desenvolvimento com IA. Tá? Vocês vão ter um ganho fantástico de velocidade. Para aqueles que não têm equipe, busquem então soluções que se fazem benefício de IA. Vocês também vão ter ganhos muito fantásticos. Né? Não tem como perder esse momento, principalmente no desenvolvimento de software. Quanto a drafting, redações, ok, podemos deixar talvez isso para um segundo momento. Tudo bem, as tecnologias ainda não estão totalmente sólidas, digamos assim, poderíamos dizer. A nossa consegue fazer muito bem o que se propõe, mas sempre tem espaço para melhorar. Porém, em software, realmente está muito avançado. Né? A gente já está falando de algo consolidado há anos. Né? Drafting é uma coisa recente, né? Então tem muito espaço para melhoria ainda. Porém, em software, já estamos atingindo níveis muito elevados de qualidade, já não é uma promessa, é uma realidade. Então, é necessário que isso seja implementado quanto antes dentro das casas que possuem equipe técnica. Porque o custo, né, de não fazer não é apenas uma dívida técnica, né, são decisões que nunca foram melhoradas por não ter um contexto melhor, né, dentro da instituição, né, aquilo que poderia ter sido construído e não foi. Né, eu acredito que tem muita coisa que pode se fazer que acaba de não sendo feito por conta de tempo e tudo mais. Né, então, um exemplo, né, de outra coisa, né, que me cabe nesse momento de falar é de encorajar as próprias pessoas também da casa que fazem atividade fim, criarem também suas soluções customizadas, né, a Shadow AI que falaram aqui, né, isso pode sim ser desejável em alguns momentos para que tenha liberdade de testar coisas com escopo limitado, obviamente, buscando a segurança, tem assim como um apoio à equipe de TI, né, para que haja uma governança, haja um controle, uma revisão, provavelmente também do que está sendo feito, mas que haja liberdade. Nós, nos nossos sistemas, a gente tem a LegisTech, que é um sistema de inteligência artificial, nós disponibilizamos para que as pessoas possam criar os seus agentes em linguagem natural. Tu pede o que tu quer que seja feito, o sistema pensa um prompt, cria um workflow e faz tudo isso de uma forma automatizada para que o usuário possa revisar o que ele deseja utilizar em cada momento e depois ele somente peça o que ele quer, já gera o documento formatado, pronto para uso. Né? Então, a gente já tem algumas soluções nesse sentido. Que vocês busquem, então, se não foram contratar uma solução de mercado, construir plataformas internas com controle, auditoria, que possibilitem, né, sejam enablers, para que a equipe de vocês possam criar também soluções, né, dentro do ambiente controlado, que é o que a gente oferece. Né? Então, vocês busquem soluções nesse sentido, né, porque realmente deixar o Shadow AI dominar pode ser um belo de um problema, porque vocês perdem total o controle. Né? Eu acredito que, dentro do possível, né, todos nós aqui estamos dando sempre o nosso melhor com aquilo que a gente conhece, com o tempo que a gente tem. Né? Esse novo mundo de IA deixa sempre a gente com a sensação que a gente pode fazer mais, que tem mais coisa a fazer e que a gente tem FOMO, né? O Fear of Missing Out. A gente está perdendo alguma coisa, a gente está aqui, enquanto isso estão lançando 10 novos frameworks, 10 novas tecnologias, 10 é pouco, é muito mais que isso. Né? Mas então, a gente que vive na tecnologia, a gente está sendo muito impactado por essa extrema velocidade, mas a gente entende, né, que a gente tem que seguir buscando conhecimento, consultorias, parcerias, agindo dentro do que a gente sabe, né, agindo melhor com o que a gente tem e que a gente pode. Basicamente é isso.
Thanks very much, Bruno. Yeah, important point in terms of the relationships and the partnerships here, definitely. And Paddy, just for your closing remarks. Please.
Okay, well, I'll try and keep this short because I know we're trying to catch up time. It's really refreshing to hear the colleagues in the panel and the synergies we all have and about resource issues, and really refreshing, Kirsten, some of those things that kind of, we're not the only legislator that has these edge case things, and that institutional, knowledge, corporate knowledge that goes, like you're talking about things that only happen twice in your lifetime. Yeah. That happens to us all the time, you know, as well. And I suppose just on that point, because we only established fairly 25 years ago, we're getting a lot of people who are starting to retire at the same time, and that knowledge and the synergies they had there with me is really powerful. So yeah, I suppose just a closing remark is thank you for your hospitality, Mairéad, and the rest of the team here. It's been a fantastic event. Thank you.